That's the whole idea. We're back on the record. You may resume.
Thank you, Judge. Ma'am, we're back on, still talking about your trip to England. Would there be any particular reason why you would be concerned about the defendant being in your room or other employees from GE knowing he was in your room?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Can you repeat it?
I'm just not straightforward. Is there any reason why you would be concerned about other GE employees knowing the defendant was in your room in England?
No, I can't. I don't really know that I still don't really understand the question.
Okay. Judge, may I approach?
You may approach.
I'm going to approach Judge with exhibit number 58. It is stipulation page 5164. And my handy what's been marked states exhibit number 28. Can you identify that item for me, please?
Okay.
Now,
Can you identify it, ma'am? Do you recognize it?
Yes.
now you're talking about the trip in England, correct?
Yes.
And one of your co-employees staying in the same hotel, correct?
Yes, I guess.
And Hemi actually responds, do you know where she is staying? Or are you going to have to continue to justify 2 cups of coffee?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember this. I don't know.
How did you respond?
No idea actually, but No idea actually, but I assume she will also be staying at the DoubleTree. Not funny, by the way.
So you responded, not funny, by the way.
Okay. Yep, that's how I responded.
Okay. Your Honor, states we move to put in number 28 as stipulated.
Any objection?
Objection.
28 is met without objection.
Lori Williams was someone that was in London at the same time doing a quality review. That's who we were talking about.
I'm sorry, say that again?
She was someone who ran the quality review while we were in London, or not wherever we were. The second location was, which is escaping me at the moment, the name of the town.
Now, was that response to his question? 'Cause he didn't ask you a question.
Okay. I was just clarifying who, when he asked GE employees, I recognized the name of the individual in the email. So I was just clarifying who she was. That she was, in fact, a GE employee.
That's fine. Just
Okay.
listen to his question, respond to his questions.
Okay.
Now, when you got back from England,
Yes.
what was the situation or what was the circumstance to your relationship with Rusty at the time? How were you getting along with Rusty?
We were getting along just fine, but it was a stressful time with the amount of, I had been traveling, but I had been away from home. He had daddy duty for most of that time, and we were in the process of trying to figure out how to make that easier. And so there were some stressful conversations about the hours I was working, that I was being asked to work. The projects seemed more complicated and taking more of my time, that I was traveling more often. There were conversations about how he was starting this company and that he couldn't be the one to pick up the children at, so early in the day, that he needed a full day's work. So we were really trying to work through how to deal with that kind of situation. It was pretty stressful because I was starting a new career and told I was doing a great job. And
Okay. Were you and Rusty arguing at the time?
I think we had one argument. We don't argue. That's not really our style. We're more of a discussion-oriented couple than an arguing couple. But we did have maybe 1 or 2 arguments during this span of time.
May I approach you, Judge?
You may.
Judge, this is stipulation 5287 through 5289. Ma'am, I hand you what's been marked Stakes Exhibit number 29. Can you identify that item for me, please? It's not the easiest email to read.
No, it's not. Yeah, this is an email between myself and my really good friend Tammy Parker.
Okay.
That's what I've got so far. This is really hard to read. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Down towards the bottom where that straight line is, You respond,
Yep.
because it only ends in a fight, and I'm tired of fighting right now.
Yep. That's what I said.
Is that one fight, or is that more than one fight?
Yeah, that's for us. That's pretty much one fight. That's how it is for
It's
us.
fighting, not the fight.
Yeah,
right?
so there were 1 or 2 arguments. That's just not how we worked. We didn't fight. So that may have been an exaggeration on my part, but if you read the rest of the email and what this email is about, Tammy Parker asked me to come to her home on a Sunday. I hadn't seen my friends for months since I basically started work at GE. Yet one other thing that Hemi managed to manipulate out of my life. And she asked me to come to her home, and on a Sunday, at the time, I was working, 5 days a week, and Rusty was in the Dunwoody house all those days trying to start this company. And we had the lake house, and we, even in the wintertime, we went to this lake house every weekend.
Please continue.
Okay.
Is that it?
No.
Okay.
So she asked me, and it has been an issue for us, not a arguing issue, but always an issue for us, that when I rarely get to see my friends because we go to the lake and my friends don't always come to the lake. So it's difficult when you work 5 days a week and can't really see your friends during the week and are working at night, and then you can't get together with them. And so that was what the email was about. She asked me to get together and bring my kids over. I said Rusty really wants to go to the lake because to him the lake was a retreat, a place of peace.
But the email does
And
say,
then she goes on to say, please, Rusty, let Andrea go. Please, I miss her. It's sort of kind of in here somewhere. This is really impossible to read. And then Rusty jokes back with her that, I'm the boss, but, that he's not the boss and he doesn't really make the decisions. But the reality is when it comes to going to the lake, he often makes the decisions. And I often lost that.
but
That
the email
discussion.
does say to Tammy Parker that you're tired of fighting.
Yeah, and then we would talk about not going to the lake, and yep, I told her, it only ends in a fight. I'm tired of fighting. Asking him to not go to the lake. I mean, I used the word fighting. We really didn't. I think that word is being misused in that email.
Okay. When you returned from England with the defendant, were you aware that the defendant, shortly after you returned, left his wife and his children?
He did tell me that. I don't know exactly what time that is, but I know that he moved out of the house, yes. He told me and several other people.
Did the defendant ever tell you he was looking to buy a gun?
No.
On October 21st of 2010, did you take another Greenville trip with the defendant?
Yep.
Who made reservations on that trip, do you remember?
Hemi.
Okay. Do you know if you had adjoining rooms on that trip?
I think we did.
What time did you go to Greenville, do you know?
I presume it was a similar time to avoid traffic as the last trip, maybe midday, mid-morning, midday to the next day of a...
Wouldn't that have been a much later trip that you left later in the afternoon?
Well, we left at lunchtime in the first trip, so I don't know. It's possible that I had meetings during the day or that I had something else going on. I don't remember the exact time that we left for that trip. I do remember making a stop on that trip. He needed... we stopped at the outlet place that's on 85. I don't know what highway that is. He needed some clothes. And so I was willing to stop, and we walked in, and I actually remember having a discussion with the...
Do you remember what time you stopped? You checked into the hotel that night?
I don't know. Late afternoon, dinner time? I mean, before dinner.
Okay.
Must have been before dinner.
Is that when you went out drinking in South Carolina? Was that the trip that you and he went out drinking?
Went out drinking.
Did you go to do you remember the Pulse restaurant?
Say again?
The Pulse restaurant?
It is a dance club, not a restaurant.
Okay. Do you remember going there?
We went to dinner at a restaurant, an actual restaurant, and then, afterwards, we were walking along, and he said, let's check out this place. I found this place online. It was a place just to have drinks. That was my impression at the time.
Okay. Did you go there?
Yep.
And what did you do there?
We had some drinks at the bar, maybe 1, 2.
Did you dance?
I got onto the dance floor myself, as I explained. I've been a trained dancer for some time. Going to be able to dance freely is like a release. I'm very much in my own space when I do that, and so I got up and I was dancing alone on the dance floor.
Did you dance with the defendant?
He came to join the dance floor, did not join me necessarily on the dance floor initially, and he was also dancing. And then there was a time where he reached out his hand and, as the defense has said, twirled me around, and that's it.
Was there other contact?
There was not.
None?
Besides dancing, like partner dancing?
Yeah.
Nope.
Did you kiss him or did he kiss you?
Nope. Nope. But I guess you have people that have said that that did occur.
Do you have any idea why someone would believe you were kissing?
No, I don't.
Okay.
In this case, when you're talking about alleged affairs and someone else's husband being murdered, I think people tend to think they saw a lot of things.
Well, and let me ask you that. This is a gentleman who, up to this point in time, has asked you to marry him at least twice that we're aware of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct.
And has expressed his love for you in just emails numerous times, correct?
Correct.
And you're going to a dance club drinking with him, correct?
I didn't go to the dance club as a drinking activity, and nor did I know at the time it was a dance club until we got in there. But yes, I was there.
And you stayed?
Yep, I stayed.
Did you have adjoining rooms at that trip in Greenville?
Yep, yes.
Did you and he spend time in each other's room or in one of the rooms together?
When we got to the hotel, I remember sitting briefly on the balcony of my room, but then that was that. There was no other additional time, if that's what you're asking.
So he never spent time in your room?
Besides what I just explained, no.
Did the defendant ever tell you he was going to a gun show in Dalton?
No.
On October 31st of 2010, did the defendant text you while he was at the gun show at Dalton and tell you he was there?
No. Tell me that he was at a gun show?
Yes, ma'am.
I do not remember him texting me that.
Now, is this like the other emails that could happen, you just don't remember?
No, I'm pretty sure I'd know gun show, but...
You didn't remember I love you. Would you remember a gun show?
I didn't say that I didn't remember. I didn't remember all these emails from 2 years ago. Similarly, okay. I don't think I could remember the content of texts from 2 years ago either.
Yes, ma'am. The evening of the morning, let me go back to the morning of November 10th. Do you remember that morning?
I do.
What happened? What do you remember for that morning?
I was in the office, and I got a call maybe close to 9 o'clock. I don't remember, somewhere between 8 and 9 from Rusty.
What did Rusty say?
He said someone was just on the side of the house, and he was sort of not completely coherent, but said someone was like sleeping on the side of the house, and he called the police, and and then he had to go really quickly to talk to the police, and then he ended up calling me back and told me the whole story of what had happened, which was that He had put Ian in the car, as he does every day around that time, and Ian's car seat is on the right passenger side in the back, and as he walked around, he smelled gas. As he walked, because he sort of exits the garage a little bit to get to his side of the car, he smelled gas. And our gas meter and pipe is on the left side of the house if you're looking at the front. So he walked over to that spot, it's near our air conditioners, and he said that there was a man lying face down on the ground.
You said that Rusty called you.
Yep.
And as soon as Rusty ended that call, or you ended the call, who did you call?
I have no idea. I was at work, so I was presumably doing work things.
Any idea why you would immediately call the defendant after talking to Rusty?
I'm sure it was, no. I'm sure it was work-related. It does seem coincidental, but I'm sure that there was something else going on that I had to call him about. I talk to him frequently about work matters.
But you...
And I had a meeting with Hemi that day. And I told Hemi exactly what happened on the side of my house. And I told the person that worked for me, I told Hemi, I told like 6 other people also what happened on the side of my house, because it was bizarre and scary. And he stared at me and looked at me, and it was him the whole time.
Did you know that then?
No. How could I know that? He was sitting there like an absolute normal individual. He came to work. He was at work. For all I know, he was at work that entire time. I don't care. We don't work in the same building. I don't know where he was at that time.
Okay.
Rusty didn't recognize him. Well, how would Rusty recognize him? He was wearing a disguise. He described him as a Mexican worker.
Did Rusty describe him as running when Rusty came around the corner?
No, when Rusty backed up out of the garage. So Rusty had a communication with him, but now I know why, but Hemi never responded, because if he had spoken, I'm sure Rusty would have recognized who he was. So he stayed silent the entire time. And Rusty panicked. He got in the car, backed out of the driveway, and once he was at the end of the driveway picking up the phone to call 911, Hemi ran across the lawn over to a place that only someone who had been stalking my house for months would have known existed. There is a pathway in the woods in my neighborhood that runs between one neighborhood and another.
So somebody that ran there would have had to have had that information?
Absolutely no. There's no way to know about that sidewalk. It's not even really a sidewalk. It's like a path that neighbors have made between one. I live in a cul-de-sac neighborhood. I lived in a cul-de-sac neighborhood.
Tell him about that.
Someone would tell him?
How else would he find out?
He had been stalking my house for months.
How did you find that out?
I think we all know that by now.
So that's a guess on your part?
It is a speculation on my part,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. On the evening of November 16th, did the defendant come over to your house?
Yes, I had just been on a cruise with my husband. We hadn't been on a vacation for years, alone, without the children. I had a project I needed to complete, and Hemi insisted it had to be completed that day. And so the only way in which and it required his input, and the only way in which to finish it was to work on it that night.
So he came to your house?
Yeah.
How long was he at your house?
Because I had to pick up my children from school. I went and left work, picked up my children, put them to bed. Rusty had a business meeting, wasn't coming home that night until about 8, which I knew. And I was responsible for the children. So he came around 7:30, 7:45.
Okay. Did the defendant meet your children?
Nope.
Were they already in bed?
Yes.
Okay. And did Rusty return home before the defendant left?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Did Rusty and the defendant talk?
Yes.
What time do your children normally go to bed, ma'am?
7:30.
And I keep going back to this, but I just want to clarify. You had a man over to your house with your children.
I had no choice
With your
but to
husband.
continue my career and my job. And he made...
Ms. Sneiderman, the lawyer has a right to ask a question. You can give a response, but let him finish the question. He's going to allow you to finish your answer. You may ask your question.
Thank you, Judge. This is the same man who repeatedly said he loved you, who repeatedly asked you to marry him, that came to your house with your children in their beds to work on a project
Yep,
at your house.
yep.
And at this time, did Rusty still know about the advances, or did Rusty know about the advances of the
No.
defendant? Did GE know?
No.
Okay. About what time did the defendant leave that evening, ma'am?
I don't know, maybe 10, 9:30, 10, something around those lines. Might even have been slightly later.
Okay, I'm moving forward to November 18th. Rusty is at the Dunwoody Prep School. It may be the obvious, but please tell me why Rusty was at the Dunwoody Prep School.
He took Ian to school
Did he do that every morning or most mornings?
most mornings.
And did he do that about that same time?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea how the defendant would know that?
No. Only if he was watching my house for weeks in advance.
That morning, did you get a phone call from the daycare?
Yep.
What did they tell you?
They really didn't tell me anything. They said there has been an accident.
I'm sorry, just speak up a little, please.
They said there had been an accident, that Ian was fine, but there had been an accident.
And the accident specifically was directed to Rusty? Or did they tell you?
They didn't really tell me.
Okay.
And then I screamed into the phone asking what was going on. They just said, you need to come here. So I dropped the phone and ran out of my office.
Did you, prior to dropping the phone, did they clarify it was Rusty or they didn't tell you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I presumed it was Rusty. I don't know whether they actually said. Maybe they said it has something to do with Rusty. I don't
Okay.
remember.
Did they at any time tell you what had happened to Rusty?
Nope.
Okay. And I think you just told me, were you at work when you got that call?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember who it was that called you?
Yes.
Who was it, ma'am?
Donna. She's the one. I don't remember her last name, but she's the one that's sort of the manager of the daycare.
So she's someone that you were familiar with?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you just said you ran out a moment ago, but when they called you, you ran out. What did you do? Where did you go?
Ran to the parking lot, to my car. I ran down the stairs. And I ran to the parking lot. I got in my car and I drove. I made several phone calls.
Do you remember who you called?
My parents. My brother, Rusty's parents.
Okay, Rusty's parents. Who? Do you remember who you talked to?
Yep, I talked to Rusty's dad.
Okay, Don Sneiderman?
Yep.
Okay.
And I said, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead. You said what to Don Sneiderman?
I said, something's happened to Rusty. I have no idea what, and that's all I said. And I was belligerent on the phone.
Okay, at the time you called Don Sneiderman, at that time, did you know what had happened to Rusty?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know what happened to Rusty until I got to the emergency room.
Okay.
No one told me what happened to Rusty.
Who else did you call when you were on the way to the daycare?
I don't remember, but evidently I tried to call Hemi, probably to tell him I had left the office and that something had happened, which was a very normal thing for me to have done, was to tell my boss that I had left the office and something had happened to my husband.
Do you remember what his cell number was at the time?
No, I don't.
Okay. If I read it, would you remember it?
No, because I'm sure I had it on speed dial on my phone, so
Okay.
there's no chance I could have remembered his phone number.
Okay.
Okay?
Do you remember your cell number at the time? Let me ask you, was it 404-371-1931?
remember. That sounds right. I had it for a very short period of time,
Okay.
but that sounds right.
Do you remember how many times you called Rusty within that first 10 minutes? I mean, not Rusty, I'm sorry. How many times you called the defendant during that first 10 minutes?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I'm sure I tried to reach him to tell him that I was on my way and that something had happened.
Did you leave him a message?
Don't know.
Okay.
I barely could have my foot on the gas pedal and go fast enough.
Did you ever attempt to call the defendant's office phone to see if he was there?
I don't know. I don't know what number I pressed on the phone. I rarely used his office phone. I don't think very many people do. I mean, that's just not how you get a hold of him. He's never in his office.
And I think you've just stated this, but did you know prior to arriving to the daycare what had happened to Rusty?
No.
Okay. From leaving work to arriving at the daycare,
Mm-hmm.
I think you said you presumed or they indicated that something had happened to Rusty.
Right.
How many times did you call Rusty?
Call Rusty?
Rusty.
0 times.
Why didn't you call Rusty?
Because they just told me something had happened to Rusty. What are the chances that he's going to be answering his cell phone?
They didn't tell you what happened to Rusty.
You have a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, why did you call Rusty?
Is that the question?
No, ma'am.
Let's ask questions. What's
Yes,
the next
sir.
question?
When you left the daycare, where did you go? Let me back up. You arrived at the daycare, correct? How long did you stay there?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember if you went inside?
Yep. I was
Okay.
taken inside. I pulled up in my vehicle to caution tape and police cars and Rusty's car, but no Rusty.
Okay.
I fell out of the vehicle. I was picked up by I don't know who and taken inside.
Was it a police officer, do you remember?
No idea.
Okay. And when you were taken inside, did you talk to anybody or did someone talk to you or do you remember?
I remember one of Sophia's, they sat me down in this office that they have, this little office room. I remember one of Sophia's teachers, Katrina is her name, and she came in, she was hugging me, couldn't let me go. No one was talking. No one was saying a word. No one would tell me what happened. And then eventually, Gary Cordolino from the Dunwoody Police Department sat down in front of me and started asking me questions. Asked,
Do you remember how long that lasted, ma'am?
felt like 3 seconds, but I
Okay.
have no idea.
And at that time, did you leave the daycare?
Eventually, my parents came from Roswell, because I was on the phone with them almost the entire way to the daycare. I was on the phone with them on the entire way
Yes.
to the daycare.
Yes, ma'am.
They were keeping me company in the car because
Yes,
I was beside myself.
Yes, ma'am.
No time to call Rusty in there.
Yes, ma'am. When you left the daycare,
My parents picked me up and took me home. I was heard that we were instructed, my brother was also there, that we were instructed to go home. So
By whom?
I have no idea. A police officer, I presume. You'd have to ask my mother or my brother.
Okay, did they tell you where Rusty was?
Nope. They said they didn't know where he was being taken.
So did you go to the house?
Yep. We went to the house. I was in a fairly catatonic state. My dad and my brother started making phone calls to all the local hospitals.
Okay.
And they eventually got a hold of, I don't know, whatever the hospital is, Atlanta Medical Center.
Yes, ma'am.
And they wouldn't tell my dad anything but that he was being taken there. So we got in the car and we left.
To go to Atlanta Medical?
That's correct.
Okay. Was Ian still at the daycare? When you
Yes,
left?
he was, and that was instructed that was the best idea, was to keep him at the daycare.
Who instructed you that?
The Donna, the woman that runs the daycare.
And you left him there?
Yep, that's the safest place for him to be. I had no idea what was going on. I'm sorry, so then we went home, and after we went home and we left the Atlanta Medical Center, Detective Thompson.
Let's go back to the medical center. You indicated a minute ago, or a few minutes ago, that that's where you found.
Yeah, I want to go back even further than that, I guess.
Well, answer my question, and then we'll go back. When you were.
Let's ask questions. Next question, Counselor.
Yes, sir. When you went to the Atlanta Medical Center, ma'am, did you find out what had happened to Rusty?
They took me into what I call the death room.
Okay, so they
I
told you.
sat in a chair, and someone, I have no idea who they are, came over and said that he came in with multiple gunshot wounds and that he was dead. I don't remember anything they said after that.
Okay, so you found.
I fell to the floor.
You found out at the hospital that Rusty had been shot.
That's correct.
Okay, and you say the death room. At that point, did they tell you or indicate to you Rusty was in fact dead?
Yep.
Okay, is that the first time you found out he was dead?
Yep.
And you found out he was shot?
Yep.
Did you go back and get Ian?
We were at the hospital for quite some time.
You left Ian at the daycare?
That's correct.
Rusty had been shot in the parking lot and you left Ian at the daycare?
That's correct. That's the safest place for Ian to be, around people that care about him.
Okay. Do you have any idea why the defendant would go back to GE and go immediately and get your laptop computer out
I
of your
have
office?
no idea.
Okay. Do you know any way or why or how the defendant would know your password?
Yep, he looked over my shoulder almost every time I entered my password. Sat next to me, probably knew my garage code password because the garage had been opened a couple weeks before November 10th also. That was probably him too.
Do you know of anything on your laptop that wouldn't be in the GE mainframe system that would necessitate him to go get your computer?
I don't understand the question.
Do you know any reason why? Do you know of anything that would be on your computer that would make him immediately come back from shooting Rusty and go get your computer?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay.
This is what goes on my computer, what you've laid out here. Emails.
Yes, ma'am.
That's mostly what I do.
One second, Judge.
You may.
Do you remember telling Tammy Parker in late December that you knew who it was that killed Rusty?
Guys. Excuse me.
Ma'am, do you need a minute?
I'm fine.
All right, answer the question.
Can you answer the question again?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, do you remember telling Tammy Parker in late December 2010 that you knew that it was the defendant who killed Rusty?
Somewhere around the late December time frame, maybe the 27th or 28th of December. I was in Florida. It was to be our 10th wedding anniversary. We were married in Florida, at a synagogue in Florida, and so I was down there with my family. On the 28th or so of December, I got a weird email from iTunes.
Ma'am, that's not my question. My
And-
question is, do you remember telling Tammy Parker in late
Yep,
December?
I told her that I thought it might be Hemi Newman.
Did you in fact tell her that you knew it was Hemi Newman?
In my gut, that's probably what I told her. Yeah. I don't remember the exact conversation, whether I used the word knew or thought.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. If Tammy Parker indicates that you told her you knew who killed your husband,
Then I
in
would
late
trust
December-
Tammy Parker.
That's it.
Okay.
Then, when did you immediately call police and tell them that it was the defendant?
I started a draft email right after I got this mysterious email from Hemi Newman. He was in Florida at the time.
I'm sorry, who's in Florida, man?
Hemi Newman was in Florida at the time. The same time I was there. For all I knew, he was monitoring my email, knew exactly where I was. And so when I started the email to Chief Grogan on December 28th, I had a discussion with my parents. What do I do? What do we do? Do I send this? What if he's watching my email? What if he's watching me?
Did your parents not have an email address?
I don't think that crossed my mind.
So because you thought that, you chose not to tell the police at that time?
On that day,
Wasn't it important to you, if you believe you knew who killed Rusty, to
I
tell
gave
them?
the police Hemi Newman's name on November 19th, 2010.
Did you tell them on November 19th, 2010 that you knew for a fact it was Hemi Newman that killed Rusty?
No, it was unfathomable to me, and was unfathomable to me until January 4th when he was arrested that it was Hemi Newman.
But if you told Tammy Parker that you knew who
Yep.
killed him,
Yep.
wouldn't it be important to tell the police?
And didn't
immediately?
Tammy Parker tell you that she thought the whole idea was ludicrous?
I don't care what Tammy Parker
Oh,
said.
okay.
What do
Well,
you
she's a
think?
very trusted friend, and so when I explained to her and expressed my gut feeling about that it might be him, and she tells me it's kind of crazy, and Mom's telling me he might come kill you because he's in Florida and we don't know what's going on, why don't we wait till we get back to Atlanta to tell the police? Up to that day, the police and I didn't exactly have the best working relationship.
So you believe you know who killed Rusty, and you were going to wait to get back to Atlanta to tell him?
Yep, that's correct. For the protection of myself and my children, I was going to wait till we get back to Atlanta to tell them. That's correct. And so I sat down on January 4th with a list. I had not heard from the police in weeks. And I sat down with a list of follow-ups. Who this, who that, what happened with this lead, what happened with that lead, have you talked to this person? Hemi Newman was on my list. I have
Okay.
that notebook.
And that talk you had with them was January 4th.
That's right.
So the period between the end of December, when you told Tammy Parker you knew,
Yep.
and January 4th, you did not contact Dunwoody
That's correct.
and tell them you knew who killed Rusty.
That's correct.
Okay.
I was in Florida for one reason and one reason only. I wasn't going to let him take that away.
No matter that you knew who it was that killed Rusty.
And what was the difference? I couldn't believe it. It wasn't even possible. I thought I was being stupid. Who would think that this would be happening right now? Whose boss kills someone else's husband? I don't care, affair or no affair. There was no affair. Who kills someone else's husband?
Do you remember talking to Chief Grogan on January 4th, 2011?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many times did you talk to the police that day?
How many times did I talk to the police that day?
Or they talked to you? Yes, ma'am.
We met in a conference room.
Okay. Did you talk to them again after that?
Yeah, they came to my house. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, late that night.
Okay. And what did they tell you?
They came to my home, walked in Chief Grogan with some other detective who I don't know, and told me that they had made an arrest. and that they arrested my boss, Hemi Newman,
Okay?
for the murder of my husband.
And after that, do you remember telling Chief Grogan that you were going to go see Hemi that day, but that he wanted you to reschedule until he could
I
be
sent
there?
an email to about 5 folks at GE, a group email,
Yes, ma'am.
to a bunch of people that had expressed concern for me. I really hadn't spoken to anyone of any consequence through the month of December, certainly not people at work. And if I did, I had other people communicating to them on my behalf. And so I sent an email on the night of, the 4th or the 3rd, somewhere around there. And I wanted to see those people and thank them for their support. And I wanted to hear it from Hemi's mouth directly.
Okay.
I was going to confront him myself.
Do you remember telling Chief Grogan that the defendant asked you to reschedule that meeting?
I don't. I don't remember anything he said after we made an arrest. You're going to have to just... The shock that I was under, I don't remember anything else that happened that evening. I really don't. But you can remind me. I don't remember. But yes, there is an email that said he had to reschedule. Oh, and I did ask Chief Grogan, by the way. I was just in your office this day. So I was kind of surprised that he was there that night, and he had just told me they had no one in custody and no idea who had done it. No ideas. I brought up Hemi, asked where he was, said I made several phone calls on the way to the hospital to Hemi to tell him I wasn't coming back to work. He was nowhere to be found. I said, where was he? Has he been in here? Have you talked to him? And they just stare. And then all of a sudden they show up at my house and say we made an arrest. That's a lot of activity to happen in a day when I was sitting right in that office that afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
That's about all I got.
Yes, ma'am. If I play that statement as you suggested, would that refresh your memory as to what you
What
told the
statement are
chief?
you speaking of? In my home?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, they were recording me in my home.
Yes, ma'am.
That's fantastic.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, great. Play it.
May I play the statement, Judge?
You may.
Judge, I have the transcript. I'm going to give...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the same information I gave you earlier about the transcript. For the purpose of this, I'll just go ahead and remind you. Members of the jury, a recording has been omitted in the evidence, and there is also a transcript of that recording. It is a recording and not the transcript which constitutes evidence in this trial. You, the jury, must determine for yourselves what was said on the recording. If you cannot understand the content of the recording, you are to ignore the corresponding transcripted portion of the recording. Any discrepancies between the recording and the transcript are to be resolved in favor of the recording. You may proceed.
1 second, Judge.
Can you turn it up a little bit, Mr. Passwell?
That's max volume, Judge.
Now that's maximum volume?
That's maximum volume.
All right. Maybe they can hear it. Go right ahead.
Sounds like me.
Judge, I'll move to the state's 31 at this time. It's a clip of just that recording.
You said number 31?
No, Judge, not.
It's the middle without objection. And you said that sounds like you, Miss?
Yep, that sounds like me.
Okay, so by your statement, you emailed and he told you to try another day, not to come into the office?
Right.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Your Honor, this is State's Exhibit 32.
Thank you.
It's stipulation 4353.
4252.
I'm sorry, sir, 4353.
Mr. Deputy, would you help me? Somebody phone just disrupted my courtroom. Would you seize that phone? And seize that phone, please, and escort that person out of my courtroom.
It's 4353, Judge.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. 43. Thank you.
I handed this one out, State's Exhibit number 32, ma'am. Can you identify that, please?
What was the question?
Can you identify that document for me, please?
Yep,
Is that your email?
yep,
And is that Hemi?
yep.
And did you respond back to him? Let me back. Hemi tells you when you say you're coming on the 4th that he's not feeling well and he can't be there, correct?
Yeah, that's what he says.
And then you,
Because we were under the impression he had been hospitalized for 2 weeks in December.
but you respond to him, I'm only able to come in once.
Yep,
So let me know when you are back and I will reschedule.
okay.
Is that correct?
It says, and I will reschedule with everyone else. That's what it says. I'm only able to come in once, so let me know when you're back and I'll reschedule with everyone else. I wasn't exactly in a position to be going out in public at that point. I didn't feel comfortable. What is the question?
That's not my question. My question was, you just told the police department that he told you to reschedule, and mere hours before.
This is
in
not
fact-
hours. This isn't a day, by the way. It was a day.
It's January 4th, correct?
In the morning, 8:58, and
So we're talking January 4th at night.
that's like an entire day's worth of
Yes,
events.
ma'am. And you told them that he told you to reschedule, but in fact it was you.
Okay. And what's the question?
Did not you, in fact, tell the defendant you would reschedule your trip?
It does say right here that I will, let me know when you're back and I will reschedule with everyone else. Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay. So you were going to confront him,
Yep,
but he can't be there, so you were going to reschedule the meeting, correct?
yep.
So did you then tell the police that you knew it was Hemi Newman that killed Rusty?
On January 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
No, not in the middle of the day. I asked the police if they had talked to Hemi Newman. I asked where he was, if he had been questioned, where he was on that day. I asked all the right questions.
Did you tell them you knew it was him that killed Rusty?
Nope.
Thank you. Judge, I move to admit States 32.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
32 is admitted without objection.
Now, do you remember on the next day, January 5th, talking to Chief Sides
Yep.
at the police department?
I was interrogated, yes.
Do you remember talking to Chief Sides?
I was in an interrogation room with Chief Sides on January 5th. That's correct.
Okay. You remember him asking you what you thought the defendant said when the defendant was arrested?
No, I don't remember that.
If I played it, would it refresh your memory?
Of course.
Judge, I'd like to play States 33.
You may.
I've got the transcript. Hold on, Judge.
Is this audio and visual and video, or just audio?
This is audio and visual.
All right.
Both, Judge. You ready, Judge?
You may proceed.
What's the Salvation Street Foundation? The foundation is, he sat in this room for about 4 hours yesterday and talked. Secondary part of that foundation is I'm an investigator sitting in GE most of the day.
Today? Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Based on the foundation of what he told us yesterday and what the co-workers told us today,
Yeah.
what is it you think they told us?
That coworker said to you? I have absolutely no idea.
What do you think he told us?
Oh, I'm sure he told you that he thought I was in love with him. Or something along those lines. He's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what he told you. That he was in love with me? That he was infatuated? That he stalked me? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what he said. That he wanted to be my husband?
Does that refresh your memory?
Sure.
Your Honor, I move to admit States 33. It's a clip of what was just shown to the jury.
Any objection?
Objection.
Admitted without objection. Thank you.
When the Assistant Chief of Dunwoody Police Department asks you what you thought the defendant said upon his arrest for the murder
I don't think,
of Rusty, you respond by saying that the defendant would say that he was in love with you and wanted to be your husband. That's your first response?
well, that was the only place I could go from there, based on the fact that he just killed my husband. Yep, that's all I got. Well, what other reason does someone kill someone? In fact, I'm not sure there are any good reasons.
Okay, I want to jump back to a few things if I can, ma'am. Ma'am, before the Shiva, let me go back to the funeral of Rusty. Was the defendant at the funeral?
Yep.
And did the defendant participate in putting dirt on Rusty's grave?
Yep.
How did that occur, do you know? Was he invited? Did he just do it spontaneously?
It's Jewish tradition that when a person is buried, that anyone who feels that they want to help return this person to the earth where they once came can take the shovel and shovel dirt into the grave. It's almost like an honor.
Did the defendant do that in your presence?
I would say about 75 people did that, and yep, I was told that he did do that.
Okay. After the funeral, there's a Shiva. Can you explain to the jury basically what a Shiva is, please?
It's a 7-day mourning period where the family doesn't really leave the house, and you're supposed to remain in the home where that person resided, and you're supposed to have people come to you and offer their condolences, bring food, bring support, help take care of the children,
Did the defendant?
visit.
I'm sorry. Did the defendant come to the Shiva, ma'am?
Yep,
Did you see him there?
yep.
Do you know? Did he present you or one of your family members your laptop computer at that time?
Yeah, my cousin.
Okay.
hmm
Now, do you remember how long the defendant stayed or how long he was there?
I know that he's... I know that he stayed to say prayers, because there's a prayer service every night. It's about 20 minutes long, plus he stayed... I don't know how long he was there before, and I don't know how long he was there after.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
Yep.
Would he have met your 2 children at that event?
My children were running around like Indians during that time. Not really sure what 5,000 people were doing in their house. So it would be unlikely that they would have stopped and met him.
Yes, ma'am.
They were being cared for by most of my cousins and family members, trying to keep them busy and not be distracting.
Now, you indicated a minute ago, and I know I'm jumping back. Let me go back to Longmont for a minute. You indicated that, let me back up again. Do you remember talking to me and an investigator 2 different times?
I'm sorry, repeat.
Do you remember talking to me and an investigator 2 different times?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember telling us, specifically the investigator, that the defendant was never at Longmont?
I don't remember. I mean, I don't. You can refresh my memory?
I will. I will, but not right now.
Okay.
But do you remember telling us the defendant was never at Longmont?
I don't remember saying that. I remember he did not go to Longmont with me, and he was not in that training with me. That's all true.
Okay.
Yeah.
But by your memory now, he was there?
Yes, he was there.
Okay. Now, did you indicate that he was there on business, or was he there just to see you?
He indicated to me he was there on business.
When you had business, or the general practice of GE, if the defendant was there on business, would he be able to have transportation or a car?
I suppose.
Why would he need you to pick him up at the airport?
Don't know. Just asked me to do it, so that's what you do when your boss asks you to do it.
When he got back home, did you have to give him a ride?
Yep.
Why?
Didn't have a car. Just these things just didn't. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a nice person.
I'm sorry, did you say he did not have a car?
At the airport?
No, I'm just listening to your response.
Yeah, he didn't have a car.
He did not have a car. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And you, to the best of your knowledge now, you're saying that he was there on business?
Yep.
Okay. One second, Judge.
Was this how many days was this training, ma'am?
A week.
1 week?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Judge? Judge, this is Exhibit 107.
107?
Yes, sir. It's stipulation number 4891.
Mayor Brooks, yes, sir.
Can you identify that for me, please?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes, you can identify?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead. She said yes, you can identify it.
Okay. Is that an email to you from the defendant?
Uh-huh. Well, it's a couple of emails back and forth, but
And in
yeah.
that email, doesn't he say,
How are you getting back from the airport? I give this whole Friday night. I hadn't gotten that far. Family may already be at the lake, so I'll probably take a taxi home. But then to Dunwoody, then leave the next morning, meet out there. What are you doing? Obviously, I did not leave a car at the airport. And then we got a car service to my home, and I drove
okay,
him.
how about reading the rest of it?
Send a note to Carmen. Ask her to order car service for you. Then we'll figure out how I get home since I'm not on business travel.
Since I'm not on business travel.
Yeah.
So he was not in Longmont on business travel.
And then I said I can help there, I'm sure.
So he was not on GE business for Longmont.
That's what that says.
So why was he at Longmont?
I don't know. Well, now I know.
Was he there to see you?
I guess so. To stalk me? Probably.
Did he stalk you from inside your own room?
Stalking can take on many different meanings.
So that's a yes.
He was there to spend time with me,
In your
evidently.
room? In your room?
Yeah, he did not share a room with me. Was he in my room? He might have been for a little while, but didn't share a room with me.
Your Honor, I'd move to admit States 107. It's in the STIP book.
Any objection? Objection. 107 is admitted without objection.
1 second, Judge.
You may. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you can stand and stretch in the jury box. It's mandatory. You participate, you stand up and stretch at this point in time in the jury box. That means everybody stand up and stretch in my jury box. Everybody stands up and stretch in my jury box. Everybody stands up and stretch in my jury box. You may be seated. That was not an optional request. All right. You may continue.
Yes, Judge. On the evening of January 4th, do you remember Chief Brogan coming to your house and telling you that they had arrested somebody?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the first thing you said after they told you they'd arrested somebody?
No, sorry, I have no idea.
When he told you that they had arrested somebody, did you know who they had arrested?
Nope.
You had no idea who had been arrested?
No. How would I know that? He hadn't told me yet.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, when he told you they had arrested someone, did you know who they had arrested?
Nope.
If he told you that they had arrested someone, would you normally ask who?
He was going to tell me who. In fact, he told me who.
How long after he told you they arrested did you ask him who?
I don't know, but we can hear it.
Judge, I'd like to play a clip of that.
Is that
Recording.
107,
That will be 34, sir.
number 34?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Thank you, sir. This also, I believe, has a transcript, Judge.
It's the same instruction, Jury, that I given to you earlier, pertaining to the transcript versus what you hear.
We're ready, Judge.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge.
Let you guys know that we made an arrest today.
Are you serious?
We have.
I just talked to you today at 2 o'clock.
Understand? Happened after that.
So, can you say that?
Since 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just a little while.
Can you sit down? You're making me very nervous.
Sure.
Are you sure?
Taking the arrest.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. This had been now over a month after Rusty had died, with no arrests, no communication, nothing. I'm asking, are you sure that they know that they have the right person? That's what I'm asking. That's it.
How would you know who that right person is?
I have no idea.
You didn't-
All I was asking was, are you sure you've got someone? Are you sure you know and you have the right person?
And you told Tammy Parker in the end of December that you knew it was the
I
defendant.
told Tammy, that's fine, yeah, that's what I said. I had a feeling that it was him, but there's no chance that I thought I was right. It was unfathomable and unbelievable that it could be him. Someone that proposed to care about me, care about Rusty, care about my family, be a normal guy, be my boss, and he murdered my husband.
And when they told you they arrested someone, you didn't ask who it was.
No, I don't think I can be expected to have had the right question right off the bat. That's what I was concerned about, was that they had the right guy.
It didn't matter who it was.
It really didn't.
Okay. Judge, I move to admit states 34.
Any objection?
No objection.
34 is admitted without objection.
The relief of them having found someone, that was the first thing. That was the overwhelming grief that you're hearing.
Next question.
Yes, sir. Up to that point, you never told the police, even up to that point, that you knew it was the defendant.
I talked to the police about Hemi Newman on January 4th.
You didn't tell them that you knew
No, I did not
was
say
the
it in that
defendant.
way that you're describing. That's correct. I left it up to the police.
That's all I have at this time.
All right. You may cross-examine.
Your Honor, I just have a minute to set up.
You may. All right, ladies, with the assistance of Deputy Moore, I'm going to give you a brief stretch break in the jury room. It'll be in the neighborhood of 5 minutes.